this menno-passage, this maturation of power that happens in us women when we are quitting mothering and when our bodies quit the breedable mothering phase. One of the biggest struggles and pains and complaints that I've heard from other sisters on the elder path journey, and something I've experienced myself a fear of, is invisibility. This lived experience that many of us wise women in this golden phase of life, post-menopause, that we face, where we suddenly feel invisible. And this can manifest in strange ways. Like, seriously, if you're used to having what I would call the pretty privilege, which I always had the pretty privilege. Like, I was a bathing suit model for a while. I got real used to people saying, "Oh my gosh, you're so beautiful." And they're talking about the appearance of me. I mean, I would hope they're also talking about my personality and the deeper stuff. But let's be honest, I've been blessed with good genes, with a face that looks like your face is supposed to look when you're a pretty woman in my own culture. And my daughter, who is right in the middle of her pretty privilege years, because she's 25, she reminds me that there's drawbacks to the pretty privilege thing too, because you look real pretty, then you're going to get hit on and bothered by attention that you don't want, and even be it put on you with the assumption that you're calling it in and seducing and la la la, when you're not. You're just walking down the street in your sweats. So I'm not saying it's all roses to have the pretty privilege, but I can tell you from personal experience that it's a real trip to notice the pretty privilege going down. And hey, I love how I look. I'm 56. I look great. I am strong. All is well. And I am no longer a bathing suit model. And I am no longer getting hoots from trucks full of guys. Like, I'm not saying that's always a great thing, but it is something when you've got that youthful, pretty thing going on. Doors get open for you. And I mean that metaphorically as well as literally. There's more opportunities. It is indeed a privilege, just as my whiteness and my education, my demographics in many ways have made me a privileged person. So anyways, back to this invisibility thing. When suddenly you always had that and then you don't, because mid-age is changing your body, changing your appearance, and changing your confidence, it can really seem, in comparison, like you're suddenly invisible. Like you've lost your shine. You've lost your light that radiates, that people can actually see. And of course, believing that and then walking around feeling like I'm invisible, what do I become? Pretty invisible. Yeah, because it's depressing. It's depressing. And, you make yourself small physically and energetically instead of expanding into your bigness because you feel like you're invisible and then you're bad and la la la. Well, what I've learned, because I'm a few years past menopause now and been learning a lot about this whole package from my teachers like Maria and others, and from my saging elder sisters in the world, that there's also some ways that we become more radiant, more visible, more of ourselves. And what's cool about the kind of visible that we can get in these wise woman years is it's way more authentic. Because when I was walking around being a bathing suit model type of girl, that was just a pretty picture. That People who were looking at pictures of me didn't know that I was a student at Stanford at the time, didn't know that I was on my way to law school, didn't care that I was a faith-filled woman. None of that mattered. It was the prettiness. It was the shape and the glow and whatever. Well, what makes us visible now as wise women in midlife and beyond is different. Now, it's our voice that speaks the truth without trying to enable or caretake or soften everything. It's our love that is now a more wise, mature love, given freely and not maybe selling out as some of us have in the past for love. I'm pointing at myself right now if you're not watching the video. And it's also our magic. Because this time of life, we are full of a special magnitude of gravitas and magic that springs not only from our wisdom, but also from our mature power. So let's break this down a little bit, shall we? Because while it is fun to get your brows microbladed and color the hair to blend with the grays and we can do things for our physical appearance, whatever you feel like, or nothing. It doesn't matter. It's not the thing that matters anymore. Now, what so obviously matters is our truth. If you want someone to give it to you straight, ask a mature woman. Right? Ask your grandma, ask your auntie, ask the teacher, because she's no longer trying to chase a relationship or to be the best, nicest mommy or to win the games at work and the competitive games. She's not. If she passed menopause, she is in that I do not care club. And the best part about the I do not care club attitude is how willing we are to tell the frickin' truth. Without apology, without exception, without holdbacks. That truth is so magnetic. Can you think of a wise woman in your life who you just adore because they tell the flippin' truth? I bet you can think of several. I certainly can. So your truth is powerful, it's meaningful, and in a world full of the fakeness, the fake news stories, and the contentious this and that, your truth is the medicine that we are hungry for. And this is why I'm often working with thought leaders and entrepreneurs and coaches and teachers and writers and artists, because it's the message, not the image, that matters. It's the message, not the image, that matters. The message of authentic, grounded, spiritually connected truth matters way more than image ever could. All right. So don't hold back the truth. Just let her rip. You have a menopausal permission slip to tell the truth. And when you do, you do get noticed, because your truth is the important aspect of your voice being expressed in this world. Whether that comes through in your art or your writing or your speaking or your daily conversation with people, your truth matters. And a wise woman's truth is magnetic and powerful. We've also got a love that is finally tempered. It has been tested. It has been betrayed. It has been rejected. Our love has been met. Our love has been misused. We've been through the ringer. By the time we get to 50 or so, we've been through a lot that taught us about love, not from some book, not from listening to a podcast, but from living it. And that wise love that we have here and now, that wise, embodied, experienced, I've been there sort of mature love, that's another medicine that this world deeply needs. In a world where love becomes transactional many times, becomes wound up in money and partnership and what I'll do for you and what you now have to do for me and all the expectations of that. By the time you get to be a wise mom, you've been through enough to recognize what love really is. You've learned that love is about showing up in those times where some people are not going to show up. So guess what? The wise woman, the wise auntie, that grandma who knows what love really is, she's a shower-upper. She's a real deal love-er. She is an embodiment of a mature and complete love. And a lot of the indigenous traditions speak to this, actually, about how a woman who no longer bleeds out her fertility every month actually contains the power of that love, of that creative spark. And that brings us to point number 3, that makes us more magnetic and more visible in all the important ways in midlife, and that is our magic. Many traditions say that the power of our creative blood, of our sexuality, is the greatest power there is, embodied in humanity. And so as we reach this point, they would say, of maturity, and the blood no longer flows out, but rather the power is contained without needing to cycle in the same way or be utilized to create other human beings. All that creative power then is contained. And the wise woman is a vessel of power, of creative magic. The power to heal, the power to see beyond the physical, the power to transform one energy into another. This archetype of the old haggard witch, there's a reason why the witch is usually an old lady. It's because by the time you get to be an old lady, you've got a lot of embodied power. You can contain it, and using the first 2 things we talked about, your truth, the power of that sword of truth that you've earned over the course of a lifetime, and the power of this mature, more unconditional, real shower-upper love, those 2 things come together and even more so expand your power. Make no mistake, a lot of women in their midlife, in their 50s, in their 60s, and starting in their 40s, really have big intuitive awakenings. And I mean awakenings of their power to heal, to see clairvoyantly, to hear all the clairs, clairaudience, clairsentience, all of these deeper senses that are natural to us, as well as the intrinsic knowing of our intuitive intelligence, grow exponentially at midlife and beyond for women. You know this, because if you want to know what's really going on and you're smart, you're going to ask a wise old lady. If you want the real deal truth, boom, you're going to ask an elder auntie. If you want to really feel what love truly is, you're going to go to grandma. And if you want a healer and a guide and a mentor who has embodied power, full of truth and love, you're going to find yourself a wise woman. I got nothing against 30-year-old healers. They just haven't lived as long as a 60-year-old healer has. They haven't had time to accrue the level of experience and life-earned wisdom that a wise woman of a certain age has accrued. It's just true. We all have intrinsic gifts, and neither love nor truth nor power are owned only by women over 50. That is not what I'm saying. And I'm not leaving the men out either. But I am saying that there is something special that happens here. And it is the opposite of invisibility. Now, there is a lovely thing that happens with invisibility that is a bonus of midlife, I'm finding. And that is, as we reach an age where we're no longer seen as sex objects, we can drop underneath the bullshit flesh market that runs under almost every conversation and industry. We can drop down underneath that. We don't get called up into it every half a minute like our younger sisters do. It can be nice to have a cloak of invisibility. It can be nice to, like that haggard witch in the fairy tale, put the cloak hood up and pass through the marketplace unseen. Now, I work with a lot of very powerful, wise women of middle age who are deeply empathic and gifted and intuitive, knowing, wise women who are bringing healing to the world even as they walk undercover through their industry, through their marketplace. They are wielding the power they are given to share and using their cloak of invisibility when they want to. But I'll tell you what, when these women of power that I work with who can bridge the worlds, who are both intuitive and intelligent, when they desire to be seen and they pull that cloak back, their radiance, their grounded power, and their impact is felt by everyone. So I'm here to bust the myth of invisibility during midlife and instead to replace it with the gift of the cloak of invisibility when you need it, but the deep magnetic radiance of these gifts of midlife. Your unapologetic truth, your deep, knowing, embodied, real deal love, and the power that surges through you as a mature channel of genius. Stand in that power and help me stand in mine. And together, we wise women can make a huge impact, seen and unseen, in this world.